Intro-
Your comic books to life and print your comics with Comix Wellspring.
Hello, welcome. It is Monday night. It is the first show of the new year. I didn't even realize this. We jumped right into January and we're already rolling through. We're 2 weeks in, and this is the first Inspired Inc. of 2026. With this episode 88, that's insane. Thank you guys for being on this journey, for coming to all these conversations, to talking to all these great creators. And now that we're doing it live, it's great seeing all you dive in with questions, check out stuff, and check out the backlog of amazing indie creators we've been bringing on. But we've been shaking things up. I always like shaking up the shows and the guests that we have on. And today we have a very awesome special guest. I can't wait to dive into conversations and just poking his brain about everything. We have Anthony Marques, the president of the Kubert School. Hello, Anthony. How are you today?
What's going on, Brandon? Thanks so much for having me on here tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. And look, man, you say that this is the first show of the year. You're dropping a little bit of the pressure on me, so I gotta really deliver tonight. So, but no, I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to chat. And forgive me if I'm a little tired. I just flew in from New Orleans last night and came right to the school and got it going. So, very excited to be here, though.
Oh, that's exciting. What were you doing in New Orleans?
So we went down to Fan Expo New Orleans. It was a really great time. Fan Expo always puts on a really wonderful show. So for those of you that haven't been to a Fan Expo show before, I highly recommend that you check them out. They're all over the country and all over Canada. So they do a wonderful job. They have a great staff of individuals that put together those shows. Kevin Boyd and Rich Capobianco. They do a really fantastic job over there, and everyone else and all the volunteers. So can't recommend it enough to you guys.
What cons and expos and everything, what do you think kind of separates an expo from a lot of the other comic cons that go on in the country? Because the expos are gotten so big too over the last, I guess, like 6 years, 8 years.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities with a lot of the shows. A lot of them are let's call them pop culture like celebrations. Okay, so you have your celebrity centric section of it. You also have your comic artists and creators that are going to be there. So you're going to have your writers, artists, colorists, etc., editors even that'll sometimes come on by and be doing portfolio reviews. We can touch on that later, but that's a great way for any of those aspiring artists or writers that are in here, colorists, letterers, you name it. You got to make sure you're getting out to those shows and meeting them. But, then you also have your Read Pop shows, your New York Comic Con, C2E2s. You have your Comic Con official San Diego Comic Con shows. They also do the Comic Con cruise. They have different shows all over the world. And then you have your mom and pop type shows, your Motor City Comic Con, and you've got your other ones. And then you have my personal favorite, Heroes Con. You have Baltimore Comic Con out there. And each one offers a little bit something different. So you have pop culture celebrations, then you have comic specific shows like Heroes Con, Baltimore Comic Con, as well as Terrificon up in Connecticut. So all of them bring something different. Each one's a unique taste and flavor and keeps this whole thing interesting and fun for the fans and the creators alike.
I think that's the best way to explain the wildness that are conventions for anybody to ever hear. I definitely got to put that into a clip or something, because it's one of those things. Like, I think especially as a creator, you kind of can get jaded with cons in a certain sense, because some of them do really well. People kill it at Heroes all the time. I didn't have a great time my first time at Heroes, but I was in a weird spot too. But some people do great at some of these expos, and some people do great at San Diego. And honestly, like, understanding what each one is formulated as, I feel like expos are, like you were saying, a lot more fan based, and having that mindset of that experimentation of everything can actually like let you curate what you're taking to those cons and not always do the same setup for every single convention. I think you kind of need to tailor to where you're at most of the time versus just having the expectation of what's on my table is going to get me throughout anything. No one should really have a universal table to a certain extent, I feel.
The fun thing with Fan Expo too, and I have to do a shameless plug, I apologize, but we just did a really cool exclusive with them. So we have these really nice foil covers going on. So be sure to check those out. But what they did was for each city that Fan Expo goes to, they're actually doing a brand new printing of the New Frontier Special #1, featuring one of my all-time favorite creators, Darwin Cook, course, and one of my longtime collaborators, Jay Bone, as well as Dave Bullock inside of the issue. And I was able to do a brand new cover for it. featuring Superman and Batman. So this was a real honor and treat for me to work on. But each city that you go to for the Fan Expo shows, they have a unique one that'll say, for example, it said New Orleans when I was down there, or it'll also say Orlando for MegaCon that's coming up. Any of the cities that the show is going to be at, they're going to have these exclusive covers, ultra limited, and then they have the ultra limited foil one with Metropolis across the top, down to only 500 copies total. So definitely swing on out when you go to those shows and pick those up. But like you were saying, each show offers something unique for the fans. Those are definitely a high-end collectibles at those sort of shows. It's a really cool, unique way for collectors and fans to kind of go out there and pick stuff up.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's the way to get word out there for your books too. And so that's what I'm also interested in. You know, you becoming president of Kubert School, you attended the school for a long time. So you had
Yeah.
aspirations where I'm curious, what were your original plans and intentions when you started the Kubert School to where you are now? How did that shift happen? And what did you want to do when you were first just kind of entering it as a student?
Well, you know, it's funny. It's a really long story, so I'm going to try to keep it as trim as possible for you. But you know, when I originally heard about the school, I was a little kid, and I remember I lived in Toms River growing up. That's my hometown. And you know, Little League World Champions, I think like 1996 or something like that. I was not a part of the team, but that's, you know, I got to give them a shout out for what they did. It was cool. But you know, I remember going through the book, a comic. I was a big collector even when I was a little kid, and I came across an ad for the Joe Kubert School, and I saw that it said Dover, New Jersey. And so in Toms River, you have East Dover Elementary, you have West Dover, you know, those sort of things. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is right here. And I remember my dad being like, no, that's like 2 hours away from here. And so I wanted to take the Saturday drawing classes, but I couldn't go. And so it was always in the back of my mind. I always wanted to attend the school. I mean, I wanted to draw comics. I knew from a very young age that that's what I wanted to do. And my mom and my dad and my brothers were always very supportive of that sort of thing. They were like, yeah, you should do it. You should do it. So as years went by, eventually I got older, and I was really concerned about turning this into an actual career because I didn't want to lose that fun aspect of it. I didn't want to have somebody dropping the deadlines and making it, you know, horrible and whatnot. So I started doing some construction work, and, you know, I really enjoyed it. It was great work, but I was drawing on the job site all the time. And so everybody was like, why are you here, man? You should be drawing, you know, you should be doing this instead. And my wife, then girlfriend at the time, Jackie, she came up to me and she was just like, you need to do this. And I'll never forget coming home one night, and she had assembled my drawing desk for me that I keep at home. And, you know, she really believed in me and supported it. And so I applied to the school and I was accepted, and I came in the door, and I was just so excited. So I always knew I wanted to draw comics, and I thought it was very, very cool. And I wanted to be a penciler in particular. So some of the former or teachers or you know, other ones that have gone on. There's an instructor in particular, Todd Doney. He was one of our painting instructors, and he's an incredible painter. He loves to joke around with me and say, like, or especially when there's other students around, see this guy, when he showed up, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a penciler. He didn't hated ink. He hated painting. But you know what? I'd still turn in those assignments, Todd. If you ever see this, I turn those assignments in. But I wanted to be a penciler, and I knew from day one that's what I wanted to do, and I've been able to achieve that, and that's been really cool and satisfying.
That's cool. Dude, yeah. I mean, honestly, you know, especially when you're going into comics and you have that intention with wanting to go to the Kubert School, like knowing like where you want to kind of fall into the ranks, but keeping that open mind, like you kind of have to experiment with everything because you
Oh
never
yeah,
know what's going to be cool. You know, like you
that's
never
what's
know what you're going to end up loving either.
that's what's so great about the Joe Kubert School is that they really let you try out everything, right? They want to make you as hireable as possible, which I think is just such a wonderful philosophy. But you're able to learn all the different aspects of the business, whether you're learning lettering, whether you're learning digital production, color, you know, editorial, business side of it, writing, penciling, inking. I mean, all of it is a part of our curriculum. And Joe built this wonderful curriculum, you know, 50 years ago. We're in our 50th year right now. And so all of our students learn every single aspect of the business. So when I graduated from the school, I didn't go directly into drawing. I actually went into editorial work. So I started off in editorial at DC Comics, and that was a dream come true. And I was working in the Superman group. And for those of you that don't know or can't tell, I'm a huge Superman fan. So that was a real dream come true for me.
Oh, dude, how epic about that too. I mean, that's so great because there's so much more as you start drawing, as you start learning how to make comics. There's so much more to comics than just drawing comics.
Oh,
There
yeah.
is a list of things that comes before and after that you really don't consider. You just think about jumping into pencils, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
jumping into inks, or you're just coloring, you know. But the thumbnailing and the editing and the computer work, like I'm bad at computer work. I need to get better with my computer skills in general when it comes to editing pages and whatnot. But there's so much you have to do for formatting and even getting it ready for print, whether it be for your own
Oh, yeah.
print, like in the background, but like, or just a book in general. So giving that advice and navigation along with business skills. I mean, creators really aren't the savviest. I'm not the savviest business person as a creator either. And running a publishing house, I try to have other people run the finances because that's a lot of stuff to figure out and juggle when you're just trying to draw stuff. And like giving them the opportunity to learn that, that's huge.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
there things that you changed or added on when you became president to like kind of maybe just elevate the school? You felt like maybe components were missing or
Sure.
courses to be updated and whatnot?
I never like to say elevate too much because these are all really, the foundation was there. Joe did such a wonderful job in creating the school and the faculty and the staff that have been here for so many years. And they've always done such a great job keeping it moving forward. But one of the things that I really wanted to keep this going and to make it even better for our students was I wanted to have business across all 3 years. So starting in first year, you start taking business classes. You take creative writing across all 3 years. You're learning digital, you're learning storyboarding, you're learning all different facets of it. We also brought in a large digital element of it. Now we teach traditional and digital across the board. So you're going to learn all the different programs. You're going to work through all the Adobe programs. You're going to work through Clip Studio. We're in the process of actually looking into Blender and introducing 3D printing. Not this year, but probably into next year or the year after, we're going to have a large component of that as well, because we want our students to know all of it. But on top of that, we also created a whole online department for our school. So if you want to attend the full-time program, but you just don't want to make your way out to New Jersey to attend the school here in Madison, we also moved it to Madison. Well, we can offer it to you, the full-time program, completely online. You can take part in those classes live. So you're actually still able to interact with your fellow students that are in the class. We created the whole online studies department as well. So let's say you can't attend the full-time program, but you want to take maybe a 6-week course once a week for 6 weeks. You're able to take basic drawing, narrative, figure drawing, you name it, digital color, perspective, very particular subjects or topics. We're able to offer those to the general public. So you could take those at a very affordable price. We also have free classes on our YouTube channel for people to take part in and watch. So we really wanted to make sure that we had all different components available for people to be able to take part in the school and to learn about this, because the more people that are out there drawing, writing, creating, telling stories, the better it is for everyone. My wife, Jackie, she's the director of the school. She actually put together a whole program at the city of Newark, New Jersey. So we actually teach about 40 different high schools in New Jersey to young artists, young kids, and getting them out there drawing, teaching them really incredible skills. And they do a really incredible job. So we also have a whole library program that we do where we reach out to different libraries throughout the state, and we actually go and we teach for free. These aren't you're not paying to come to the library to learn. We want kids drawing. So we're really looking to give back to people, to get them involved and have fun and to create and tell stories.
Oh, that's great. And accessibility, that's so important when it comes to like trying to get people into art, to into like something that takes time and effort, is just making it accessible somehow. So that way you're removing any sort of roadblocks or kind of anything that might kind of stop them or make them hesitate too much, you know?
100%, because it's so much fun. Okay. When I was a kid, I was constantly drawing. And I remember in town, there was a local artist. His name was Howard Bender, and he drew comic books professionally. And he was always so great. When I would see him in the comic shop, I'd always bother him for a sketch. There was also, a legend that would come into the comic shop a lot with Howard. His name was Kurt Schaffenberger. For those of you guys that don't know who Kurt Schaffenberger is, you need to look up Kurt Schaffenberger. He was an incredible artist, very famous for working on Captain Marvel at the time, as well as Superboy. And everyone was always so willing to help out young artists to keep them drawing. So this is our way of doing the same thing and making sure that it is accessible. It's a great word that you were using before, to everyone. So this way everybody can take part in it.
I love that, dude. And so also you guys moved last year too. What was the cause and
Yep.
reason for that move? And did it like actually help and benefit you guys in the long run of things too?
Oh, it's been fantastic. So we relocated from our old location in Dover, New Jersey to Madison, New Jersey. It's about a 20 minute difference. So we're right here in Madison, and there's so many different options for our students to take part in. We really wanted them to have a really strong community to be a part of. So we have the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts right across the street. There's tons of different restaurants. We have Fairleigh Dickinson University, Drew University right up the street from us. So it gives our students the option to also interact with other young individuals, young artists, so this way they can share ideas and have a really great collaborative community.
I think that's so important too. You know, it's always, when I was growing up, it always felt like the Kubert School was like the X Mansion in, you know, somewhere in New Jersey, in like some like foresty hills and whatnot that you had to like travel to and everything. But like putting it where you could actually have that, you know, that college experience still, because it is very different from any other art school or any other college out there in that sense too. Because it is, I know you could get your BFA there as well. How far do you go up in the ranks there? Is it just up to your bachelor's you could get?
So we're only a certificate-based program.
Oh, certificate. Oh, okay.
It's a post-secondary school, so you can come and attend the school, but it's certificate-based, but we're really big on building those portfolios. So what we do is in our third year, we bring about 10 to 15 different companies. So DC Comics comes out, Marvel, IDW is coming this month. We just had Kodansha all the way from Japan sent 14 different editors to our school to actually come and review all of our students' artwork and look to hire them right on the spot. So we have Dylan Dietrich, a recent graduate. He already started doing work at DC last year. Another thing that we've done is we've pushed very hard to get our students working. Oh, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. That's great. I love to see him in the comments. But looking forward to seeing you at MegaCon. But we've worked out really wonderful partnerships with a lot of different people. We created the Joe Kubert Art Agency as well. So this way we have people reaching out to the school. We have a full-time job placement coordinator as well. So this way, as people reach out for work, we're able to push that out to our students. So this way they have first option to get these jobs that are coming in. You know, I was talking about the different partnerships that we have. One of the things that we do is we actually do a lot of production work for DC Comics. So some of our students, current students, or recent graduates are actually putting together books for DC. So we do their webtoons conversion. So we take their webtoons books that are made for scrolling, and we actually convert those into print-ready books that people go to the shops and pick up and buy. And now we're actually taking their web scrolling stuff that they're doing, the print books, and turning those into web scrolling books. So our students are doing all of that. We also have internships set up with Mad Cave, and it's very, very cool programs. We have editorial internships with Mad Cave, production. So we're really reaching out to a lot of the companies. Dynamite is always a wonderful partner with us and helping our students get work as well. So across the board, the whole comics industry has been a really wonderful partner for us, working with our students. And it just really gives the ability for them to know that, you know, they can get work out here. And I just saw that comment, and I'm sorry, Brandon, to kind of hijack the
No, please. Yeah.
But I saw our friend Lars right there was saying that he wishes that he could afford to go. Well, Lars, what I would say to you is that we do offer about 19 different scholarships for individuals. So, you know, you can actually apply to the school, go on to our website, kubertschool.edu, apply for the upcoming school year. Definitely apply for some of the first year scholarships, and that'll help to take some of the edge off. Ghost Machine, Jeff Johns and his incredible comic, you know, that he was doing, all of the comics that they're putting together. They did a full year scholarship for one of our students. You know, they gave a scholarship for almost $20,000, and it's really incredible. So they're really pushing, you know, and they're really trying to help. So like I said, the whole industry has been really welcoming and just fantastic for our students.
It's like the ultimate trade school, like, if you're a
It
creator, like,
is.
this is, like, the
It is.
spot to go. I mean, that's exciting because when you think about what you wanna get out of an education, out of college experience, out of, like, just dedicating yourself to that type of stuff in that
Yeah.
environment, you would hope that, like, job opportunities would pop up. You would hope that there's
Yeah.
some ways to get involved with the business because it's crazy. I mean, the more I've been in comics, the more I've discovered that you just have to kind of show up for the most part and get
Yeah.
involved and talk to people. And the more you do that, and the more you kind of go past just your favorite artists and writers and start talking to everyone else that's in the collective of making
Sure.
comics, that's going to get you the actual opportunities to like to work with them and do that type of stuff.
Comics overall are a very supportive community. It's a small community, much smaller than people think, but it's really supportive because we've all been through it, you know? So we all want to help each other. We're all extending a hand to try to bring up the next artist or writer, creator in general, because that's how we all usually break in. Sorry, got the trains going by tonight, so I apologize.
No
It's late.
worries.
It's usually when they come flying by. But it's a really cool thing, and that's what it is here at the Joe Kubert schools. And it started all because Joe used to get asked all the time, how do I break in, what can I do? And he realized that there was a desire for individuals to get into this line of business, so that's why he put together the school.
And I mean, and that's like the big question whenever you're trying to make comics is like, where's my place in comics? And there's so much you need to kind of filter through from, how am I going to stand out? How am I going to be different? Like, all everyone kind of tries to mimic one of their favorite creators or draw a lot of inspiration from various creators and whatnot. And you're trying to find your spot. And that dealing with like the uncertainty of your future in comics because everybody in everyone's families, I'm sure, is just like comics one kids books
Sure.
or two, it's like where's the money in that, how are you going to be sustained and whatnot.
Sure.
But there really is a formula, you can actually do it, and especially now with so many creator owned opportunities. And I mean, I run a publishing imprint, and that's carving away and people giving them the opportunity to kind of build those skills with some of that knowledge, so when they actually enter the realms of producing and creating comics, they have a little bit more than no more than I did when I jumped into doing all this. I've learned a lot in the last couple of years, but I wish I would have figured all this out in school because even in my
Yeah.
schools, the classes weren't giving me a true comic book class. Like
Yeah.
we were just reading stuff off of comicsology, and we learned a little bit about lettering, and we kind of saw my teacher's Kickstarter, which was a bit rough. But it was just a weird presentation in general for that, for the school I went to. So it's like, this is like what you want to actually understand the business. And that's rough because that's hard. It's different than music or film or anything else like that. And it's a different trade altogether to kind of get your mindset around that too.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's why we have all the different classes. I know people are always asking, do you offer writing classes? And yes, of course, we offer writing, like I was saying earlier, across all 3 years. So
Yeah.
we do have a set curriculum, though. So it's not that you get to choose the classes that you want to take. So each day you're going to have 2 classes. It's Monday to Friday, so 10 classes in total. You're going to have homework in every single class. So you're going to be drawing and writing and coloring and lettering and everything you could think of every single day. And all of our instructors are working professionals as well. So these are folks that are working in the industry. So you're going to have a class with Tom Mandrake or Jan Drusema, Emma Kubert, Fernando Ruiz, Taylor Esposito, who letters every single book under the sun, and these are some of the absolute best working professionals in the industry today. And then on top of that, we bring in different alumni or different guest speakers for our students to learn from and ask questions. So this Wednesday, Klaus Jansen's coming out to the school, and he's going to be talking with the students and giving them a lecture and talking about narrative art and storytelling. So we're always making sure that they have access to creators and more information and how they can further their careers and do even better.
Ah, dude, that's awesome. I mean, so especially with a long list of creators you could bring on board with that too,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just elevate that school. So what are some things you want, like you project the Hubert School doing in the next couple years? Like, what are some goals you have, or some big intentions you want to do with any of your programs, or just elevate it even more?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, it always comes down to making sure that the students are getting the best education possible. That will always be the primary focus for our school. So we also want to make sure that our students are getting hired and that they're getting work. That's the whole point of coming to our school. So I'm always looking to further partnerships, continue to develop those with other companies, making sure that we can do the best that we can possibly do. We also have a program advisory committee that consists of different individuals that work in the industry, from DC to Marvel, et cetera, all the way throughout our industry. We have really proven folks that have worked across all different facets of it, and they're keeping us up to date with what's going on within the industry behind the scenes. And so we take that information and we help put that into our curriculum, and we keep on updating it. But like I was saying earlier, one of the things we're really looking into is incorporating more 3D work, sculpting, Blender, etc., 3D printing as well, and looking into different ways of getting them to keep working. And no, I'm not going to WonderCon. I'm sorry, I will not be at WonderCon this year. But I would love to go some point in time. So if you know anybody at WonderCon, send them my way.
How many cons do you typically try to hit up per year? What are the main cons for sure you try to go to every year, if there's any?
I think last year I did 15 conventions. So we do, let's see, New York Comic Con. We would love to do New York, of course. Fan Expos. So we do Fan Expo Philly, we do MegaCon, we do Fan Expo Canada. I think we're doing Fan Expo Denver this year. I know we're going to be in Fan Expo Dallas. I was just in Fan Expo New Orleans. We're going to be doing Heroes, Fan Expo Boston. Let's see what else there is. Oh my goodness, there's so many, man. It just never ends. It's like once you get into the spring, it just feels like I'm on the road every week. August is about 3 shows that month. Baltimore Comic Con, of course, like I was talking about earlier. Man, there's a lot. So we're constantly running around, and it's me attending it. And we also have, convention staff as well that comes out to these shows. So we're constantly going out, and we also teach at the shows too. So if you come by the Kubert School booth, we have different instructors that are also there. We're teaching little quick classes. We work on the creator stage for these shows, and we teach them as well. And we're constantly pushing. And so I just also saw your question about, does the school offer animation classes? And the thing is we don't do full-on animation, but we do storyboarding as well at our school.
Okay. I mean, that's I could see the reason why maybe not to dive into animation. Is that kind of a verge of going into a different realm in general, and it kind of takes away from the comic book essence of the school as well?
Well, so when I came on board in 2019, there was a cartoon as a portion of the school, of our program. And actually prior to that, for a few years back, prior to me attending the school, even in 2008, there was a whole animation department at the school. And so they kind of had stopped doing it, and they still had kept it incorporated in our curriculum. So when I came on board, I just felt that it wasn't up to where it really needed to be. So we've kind of been trying to overhaul that section of it as well. So that also goes back into Blender. So one of the animated shorts that I actually just won one of the Academy Awards this year was completely done in Blender. So as we kind of move forward with that aspect of it, we'll definitely be looking to implement more animation into the curriculum. But there's only so many days in the week and so many classes that we can offer. But, if we can find a way to start incorporating animation or create another program for individuals that want to learn that aspect of it, we'll definitely look down that avenue and see if we can incorporate it into the school.
It's one of the biggest things when you're running like a business or having something, doing what you do, or even with CWS. Like we took down our bookstore for something we had on forever, but it just wasn't up to par of what we wanted and with the evolution. And then all of a sudden, print on demand opened its doors, and it kind of just changed everything. So it's like waiting for the right thing to re-spark like an idea you had, but you just want to make sure it's the best it can be, or else why offer it and deliver?
It has to be the best offering to individuals, because we don't want you getting something that's subpar. It has to be the Joe Kubert School standard, and that has to be the absolute best. So let me take a quick read at this. So we discontinue the correspondence courses because we also have the online studies department. So the online studies courses, if you go to the kubertschool.edu website, we do these seasonally. And so, you were talking about animation, and we're able to offer individuals live classes with some of the best working professionals in the industry. So, we're talking about animation. One of our alumni, who's also an incredible director, very accomplished director in animation, his name's Aba Audish. He teaches the storyboarding course for us for online studies. So if you are interested in taking a peek at some of our offerings for this upcoming session of online studies, they begin the week of February 9th, and you can look into Abe's class, and he's a great person to pick his brain from because he's worked on everything from The Simpsons to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Transformers, you name it, he's done it. And he's just an absolutely wonderful resource. And on top of it, an incredible person to talk with.
I love that. So, when you took over, how did that happen? How did you get the opportunity? What was going on with the school at the time to give you that opportunity to become president and kind of start running things at that point?
Sure. I love telling this story. So what had happened was, I had graduated from the school and I'd gone on and my career was going and I was having a really great time, but I had become really good friends with Andy Kubert. He's, one of my good buds, and one of my other best friends at the school, who was one of my instructors, Fernando Ruiz, actually sent me, yes, for a total across the board. It's just one rate across. You don't pay per class. But he had reached out and he said, the building's for sale, the school's for sale. And I said, oh my God. I was like, that's horrible. Right. And so I didn't want, I got very nostalgic. Let's put it that way, because I remembered how much of a difference the school made in my life, but not only my life, but everyone else that had attended the school. So I reached out to Andy and I had asked him if it was true that the school's for sale. And he said yes. And, there was a few different options. And I'm just going to be very upfront. None of them were good options. Okay. Because this is how it was going to go. If the school did go anywhere, it was going to be literally leaving the state. It was going to go somewhere far away. So all the teachers would have been gone. Okay. Everything that makes the school unique and special was going to be gone. So that was an option. And that was also a very, let's call it a nebulous option, very cloudy.
Yeah,
There was nothing very concrete with that. The other option was that the school was just going to be sold and close up, and that was it. So neither option was great, and I didn't particularly like that. So I reached out, and I wanted to find out a little bit more to see how we could keep this going. And I reached out and had a great conversation with Andy, and he was really wonderful. And I went and talked with my wife, and I said, what do you think? And surprisingly, she didn't, beat me up right there on the spot. And, she got right on board. Let me tell you, if there's any saint in this story, it's my wife, because she is, not only is she brilliant and beautiful on top of it, but she is just the ultimate partner. I could not be more blessed, lucky, whatever you want to say, to have her in my life, because she's been 100% behind me all the way. And we go through it hand in hand, man. And we put it all together and we did it. We pulled it off. And it's been just such a wonderful, wild ride the whole time. And, the staff, it's literally a family, because we literally do this all together and work really, really hard. And I was so proud to be able to keep the instructors here at the school, because that's what makes the Joe Kubert School so special. So when we moved even from Dover, I would go to a show and they'd be like, how could you move? How could you move the school? And I would say very easily, because that's just a building. That's a building. Okay. What makes the school unique and special are the people that are here, that are in it, the students, the staff, the faculty. That's the richness. That's the legacy of Joe Kubert. That's what continues the school going forward and creating something very special and unique. It's never, ever going to be a building. That's just silly. So wherever we go, as long as we're all together and we continue to do this, it'll always keep going and it'll always be special. So very proud of that.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I would be heartbroken. It's something I never had the opportunity to try to attend or anything, but it's like a legendary thing. It's something that I feel like even creators, just knowing it exists, just gives us like happiness in a weird sense. We're all just so supportive. I don't know anyone who like looks at the Kubert School with like a bad taste or bad eye. We're just like, dude, that's rad, because there's like, or we dream of aspiring to being able to go there. It's cool to have somewhere where you're like, I want to go to that school, especially coming from like a background of like, I was a musician growing up and, switching over to, English and like, literature and whatnot. And then now I've graduated and did all that. But it's like I never dreamt about going to school other than the Kubert School. That was the only
Oh,
thing
that's
I've
sweet.
ever like fantasized, been like, that'd be insane if I get to do something like that. And that's how a lot of creators feel. And if anything would have happened to it, I think there'd be a void in the comic industry
It would be a
completely.
huge
Like,
void. It's one of those things where so many people's stories have started here, so many careers. That's why I talk about the school. And when we came on board, we really wanted to put an emphasis on that and make sure that we're also highlighting the different individuals that have come through the school that have gone on to have such wonderful careers. Our alumni list is absolutely incredible. You start going through it, you have so many folks that are actually in positions. I don't want to sound very silly, but positions of power at these companies that are graduates of the school. We have so many incredible artists that are working in the industry that are alumni of the school. You have so many, just across the board, folks that come through here every single year that leave and go on to do incredible things, not only just in comics, but also in animation and film. So very, very proud of what we do here at the school.
and like, do you even fanboy out a little bit just knowing that you're now closer to the Kuberts in that sense? Like, you're just buddies
No,
with Dan.
when I worked at DC, Dan DiDio had this really awesome sign in front of his office, and it said, "You leave the fanboy at the door."
I love that.
Okay, so I completely believe in that. Yes, it's fun, and it's great, but we're all working hard every single day, and you probably fanboy out your first week at the school
Yeah.
when you're a student, and then after that, you're like, "Oh man, I got a lot of work to do." So
Yes, exactly.
the fanboyness very quickly goes away, and you have that shared bond of everybody going through this hard work and the diligence and the dedication that's needed to actually turn this into a career. Because there's a lot of folks that treat it like a hobby, and this is not a hobby, this is a career. So if you want to do this, you have to take it extremely seriously, and you have to work very, very hard. And that's what we try to instill in our students here at the school.
What's the biggest way to shift someone's mindset who's like that wants to make it a career? What advice do you have for them to at least like let them know that that is a possibility that they could do?
It's 100% a possibility. There is no reason why anyone out there can't do this. If this is something that you really want to do, you just have to dedicate yourself to do it. Joe used to say this, and I say this as well. You do not have to come to the Joe Kubert School. I know that might seem like crazy marketing to tell people, but when you come here, you are going to be drawing more than you have ever drawn in your entire life. I'll never forget, my eyes were literally lagging, from side to side because they had never been strained as much as they had been while I was a student in that first year. But look, if this is something that you really believe in and that you really want to do, you got to get out there. You got to have that face-to-face interaction. You got to share your work. If you want to be a penciler, you better have narrative pages in that portfolio, and don't have like one page of a sequence here and another one page and this and that. No, you got to have a sequence. I want to see at least 2 to 3 sequential pages. And in your portfolio, you should have at least 6 to 9 sequential pages in there, showcasing different story types. You can have an action sequence. You could have a nice quiet scene. You could have group scenes. We don't want to see pinups. And so we want to see what we're going to be doing in there. That's the most important thing to this. If you want to work in comics, you got to show that you can draw comics. Okay. So we need to know that you can tell a story.
And so for a portfolio review, it's great pointers for sure right off the bat right there. But if someone wants to be particularly a penciler, inker, colorist, does that all apply the same and just kind of write off of other people's work? What are you looking for different sectors of the craft?
So when I was an editor, I was always looking, I wanted to see their overall skill level. I wanted to know that they were able to tell a story with their pictures. I wanted to look for something that was a little bit unique, maybe that they were having some fun. There has to be a level of competence with their work where, the anatomy is strong, their basic drawing skills, narrative skills. I want to know that they can do perspective, that they have good backgrounds, that their environments feel real, and that we're able to kind of live in those worlds. One of the best critiques that I ever got was when I was just starting out. I was in first year, and I met Mark Chiarello at, I believe I was in C2E2. Fletcher Chufang, who's an incredible individual. He used to handle all the conventions for DC Comics back in the day. And now I believe he does Fletcher Sketch, which is another art representation company that's out there. He was such a great guy, and he put me in touch with Mark Chiarello. Mark Chiarello was the art director at DC Comics. He's also an incredible artist as well. If you're not familiar, do yourself a little bit of homework. Look up Mark Chiarello. And he came on by and he gave me a portfolio review. And he said, you're really good. He's like, but your pages look like they're like this is a stage show. They don't feel very lived in. You should have a little bit more of the environment, some more foreground elements, middle ground, background. If it's a city, have a newspaper whipping up, at the reader a little bit in the foreground. Make it feel real. And so I took that to heart, and I went back and I started incorporating that more into my pages, and that all kind of paid off and helped me to start getting work. So, as you go through and you start building that portfolio, just make sure that you're really putting your best foot forward. Always put your best stuff in there. Don't put in old stuff. One of the worst things I could see in a portfolio when people would bring it up is, hey, these are pages that I did 5 years ago and I haven't drawn really anything since then. Well, that kind of tells me right off the bat that you're not very serious. Another thing that I absolutely despise when I do portfolio reviews is that if you come on up to me at a show, especially when I was doing editorial work, and this, I'm sure all editors can attest to this, is if you come up and you present your portfolio to me and I'm giving you critique, please do not make excuses for every single thing that I point out. Appreciate the time that you're able to get with the individuals that they are taking to go through your portfolio and give you their thoughts. Take what they say to you. Take those different things, chew on them. Even if you know that, I'm just going to correct this when I get home. You know what? You're going to correct it when you get home. You already know. All right. But take those other little nuggets of information that the editor is giving you or the nice person that's going through and critiquing it, and just implement what you feel best will help your work to get to the next level. Okay. So that's what I would say to folks that are looking to kind of juice up their portfolios a little bit.
I love, and that's just with standard feedback too, like you take
Yes.
feedback in to know what to filter in and out. Like you may know, even if you have a piece in there and you want to correct it right away and you want to give that reason or excuse, or just absorb it, be like, all right, I know what's wrong with it. I know how to fix it then. Cool. I agree with what they're saying because I felt it too. You don't got to always express it, because I think the level of just honesty will come out there, and I think you'll pay more attention because you won't be so fixated on defense. You're just being like, okay, cool, check mark. All right, I'll address that. And then when you kind of reflect back on it, you'll have more answers than you will feel intimidated or lost or just, anything else. And those portfolio reviews are meant to bolster you and not discourage. And sometimes you got to kind of get punched in the gut because it's just one of those things. But also, I guess it depends on who you're asking for a portfolio review as well. Ensure that you're going up to someone and you can have an understanding of what they're probably going to say or their attitude towards it. I've heard them go multiple ways, but it also does depend on your attitude on approaching and asking and in that interaction.
I also think that you need to be very self-aware. Okay. You should know what your strengths and weaknesses are. I did an interview with Todd McFarlane, had a great talk with him. And he said, you should be able to look at your work and compare it to the guys that are working in the industry and say, am I better than this person? Or am I just as good? Am I close? And, you should be able to answer that. And I always thought that was a really great little nugget of wisdom, and it's very true. Where your artwork is, and what you need to be working on. But if someone goes through and they tell you, hey, man, look, you need to be taking a basic drawing class. You need to be taking a figure drawing class. You got to work on your perspective, your backgrounds, your textures, etc. These are all things that you can improve on. And that's what's really great about this, though, is that, if this is something that you really want to do, you can do it because you just got to put in the work. You got to put in that effort. You got to keep on pushing that pencil on the page. And I promise you, good things will come of it.
It's just like when I started drawing, a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, brand new to drawing, very, very fresh. But it was it seemed so intimidating to put, pen to paper and it was kind of scary approaching that blank page. And the more you do it, and the more you kind of get through stuff, and the more you practice these things, like no matter what level you're at, I'm just like, oh, I need to add backgrounds, I need to add these things. I never did that before, and so it's like, oh, okay, so it's just challenging, just adding a new thing, just to test out, because when you get too comfortable, you're just gonna zone in on that same thing. And art is all about, especially comics, dude. And that's what's crazy about the Kubert School. You're creating the greatest artists of like our generation. You know what I mean? Like comic book creators can do so much, and comic creators can draw almost anything if they really put that effort in. And that's kind of what you're expected to do, is to draw anything. And it's insane that like in our present day, like if you would have thought about this, 200, 300, 400 years ago, and have this many artists, like that's just wild. But we have some of the greatest creators that their work should be in museums. Like their work should be in these great places, because it's insane what comics can do in general. And I think that's why we all love it. And that's why the school's so rad, because you're helping shape those mindsets and challenging them in those ways, especially that digital to traditional aspect you have. I think that's so strong. I actually just tried to draw more on my iPad so I could figure out and have a good understanding of both, because it's kind of just adding more tools to your arsenal. You always want to know what tool is best for what project, timing, any sort of edits, know what each one can do. And the fact that you're providing all this, that makes it 100% worth it. I would have totally done that.
With what you're just saying right there, though, I just want to kind of piggyback off of that. Whether you work digitally or traditionally, the computer, the iPad, whatever it is, those are just additional tools. It's, whether I'm working with a regular pencil, I'm working with a Ticonderoga #2, or if I'm working digitally on my little, my iPad 1 over here, my Wacom tablet, whatever it is, it doesn't make a difference. Those are just tools, right? And at the end of the day, that's why you need to have strong basic drawing skills. That's why you need to have strong narrative art skills, because if you can't draw, if you can't do those things, it doesn't matter what you're using. Surprise, surprise, you're not going to be able to draw. So you have to be a student, a lifelong student, and you got to keep on working at it. And you know what? I love continuing to learn. I think that that's one of the coolest things about being an artist, is that you are constantly learning. You're constantly developing. And that is one of the greatest gifts that you can have in life, is to continue to learn and to get better at something. So keep drawing, because I promise you, it'll make you a better artist.
There's no reason to be bored either. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, like no reason to be bored.
It's the coolest job in the world. I love it. I've literally gotten to travel the world because of drawing. How awesome is that?
We'll bounce into some of these questions before we start wrapping up a little bit. This built up a little bit. Sorry, guys. I had my own questions. I was really excited. But so will the school go into creating and selling printed learning books as well? I love that. Like CWS is actually putting out Panels, the Comic Creators Guidebook. And I think books like that, and I love making comics and all that type of stuff. I know you guys used to offer those. Would you guys ever reconsider putting out a line of education books?
So I would just say stay tuned. We should have a pretty big announcement coming very soon. Something, it's going to be great. It's for the general public. They'll be able to pick those up. But look, for those of you that really want to just learn, for the general audiences that are out there, take part in our online studies classes, because they're absolutely the best. They're incredibly affordable. We have some of the best instructors in the world teaching them. You're not going to beat them. I promise you. These are great. They're live. They're able to actually have interaction with the teachers, the instructors. These are not recorded classes that, you're just going to pop open and you're going to have some video recording of an instructor talking to you and you're not able to interact with them. No, you're going to have real time with that instructor. So like I was saying to you earlier, we have our online studies courses beginning February 9th. So check out our website, kubertschool.edu. Check those out. Feel free to sign up, learn about them. And of course, for those of you that are really, really serious and you want to jump into the full-time program, you can also visit the website to learn even more about that. You can apply online. You can visit us for our open house. That's going to be in April. So come on out to Madison, New Jersey and have a great time and learn even more about it.
I love it. And that might kind of bleed into the second question. Art Crumbs, who does everything, they do everything, pencils, letterings, all that.
Awesome.
Is the school focused on Western methods or more universal?
Universal. Our primary focus is really teaching you how to tell a story with your art. And that goes across the board, no matter what type of a story, no matter what style it is that you're doing. I don't care what style you draw on. Okay. I want you to be able to tell a story. And so, even when Joe was drawing, he was doing stuff for European publishers as well. We have instructors here that have done stuff for European books. Some of our online instructors, we've had Maria Sinapo from Italy, Marco Santucci, her husband, Joe Prado from Brazil. We have people from all over the world that are teaching at our school. And even our students that attend the school are from all over the world. We have students right now from Spain, Brazil. We've had students from Argentina, France, Israel, everywhere, Australia, the Philippines, you name it, they all come here. So it's a wonderful melting pot of artists and of individuals that come here and are able to share different aspects of their life and get it all going.
I love that. Yeah, honestly, having that openness and also being around all those different, very diverse creators is going to impact everyone's
Yes,
style too and influence each other. Another Matthews here. If I'm putting together a professional comic lettering portfolio,
sure.
what do you think needs to be in it for editors to take it seriously?
So if you're putting together a lettering portfolio, I want to see very similar to what we were talking about before with someone that's a penciler or even an inker, or this also goes for colorists, is I want to see that you can do a sequence and that there is continuity amongst those pages. So I want to see that you have some sort of a style, that you're able to maintain certain things. I'm going to want to, of course, see different sound effects. I would love to see you doing lettered pages over colored artwork in particular, because I want to know that you're able to figure out how to work off of the colored pages. So are you using different colors that are making those sound effects pop a little bit more? Are you able to do, outer stroke, inner stroke, all sorts of different things. But I want to know that you can work within the scene that's given to you. Okay. Because let me tell you, a bad letterer will completely destroy your pages, just like a bad colorist will completely destroy really good pages. So definitely make sure you're doing those sequences, putting them together. And if you have any interest in learning lettering, we also offer that. And like I said, we have Taylor Esposito teaching lettering. And he's just one of the absolute best letterers working in the industry today.
That's so, and I think lettering, it's one of those things. It goes overlooked so much. And as
Oh,
I
for
started,
sure.
it's what are you, how are you with your lettering? I'm curious. How's your,
Look, man, I'm a horrible letterer. Like I said, I'm a penciler. Okay, I go to Taylor, I'll go to Toriana, and I'll ask them, hey, you guys can letter this, but I have an eye and I want to see it, so make sure that when you're putting in your word balloons, that they're butting up nicely against the panel borders. You don't want to have them drifting on your pages, little things like that. I'm a real stickler for things, and that's from the editorial side of it. Because you want things looking crisp, you want things looking professional. You don't want an amateur looking letterer doing anything on your pages. That the word balloons are going the way that they should be, that you don't have unnecessarily long tails. The lettering should not be obstructing the pages and taking over the art. The lettering is there to complement. Every aspect of the comic book is there to complement one another. The penciling, the inking, the coloring, the lettering. It's all there to work hand in hand to make everything look the best that it could possibly look.
honestly, lettering and coloring are my two things I got to work on the most.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of cool about the way you guys approach it. By getting your hands like kind of like wet in every department, you can understand your strengths and weaknesses at that point and know how to analyze yourself and your growth at that point. Is there anything that you learned at the Kubert School that just totally were like, I'm not fit for this. Like I'm not this type of artist.
I think as an artist, you're always willing to try different things, right? So you might not be the best at something, but it doesn't mean that you won't continue to do it,
Uh,
So every aspect of art is going to help to make you a better artist, So the more that you learn, like I know I'm not a great colorist, but that's okay. I love understanding color, and I have that in the back of my mind even when I'm drawing my pages, because then I'm thinking of how can I make sure that this is popping. So I'll even leave notes, on my pages, or when I can ink myself, but I love working with J Bone. He's an um, incredible inker, but I'll still even leave little notes like, hey, let's try like a zipatone effect here or something like that, so we're always constantly pushing to try different things.
Amazing. I mean, and that's the most. I love that answer. That was perfect. Thank
And
you.
then I saw a quick thing. I just want to just say this real quick. It's not a matter of rights, Lars. We just discontinued doing the correspondence course because we didn't feel that it was really necessary anymore. We have an incredible online studies program, and I just felt that that was a far better program for individuals to take part in to actually learn. We want you to have that experience. Now, for those of you that are interested in learning through a book, like I said, you could still purchase the books, and we also offer those classes that you would have gotten. There used to be a DVD that you would receive. We have all of those free online on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go and still learn that way and take part in those courses, you still can and still learn from Joe. And those are great videos to take part in and watch. But yes, you cannot send in those things anymore because, like I said, we discontinued that program, the correspondence course. But like I said, we've replaced it with an absolutely incredible live learning experience for individuals to take part in. So I'm sorry for those of you that want to continue doing that, but I think we've replaced it with something much, much better.
It's finding the evolution of what works best. It's always hard to figure out how to like navigate some of that and bring on that next phase of change
100%.
in it. Yeah, I feel that. And I mean, even from being a fan of certain aspects that disappeared from different programs to now doing stuff like that with CWS, where it's our biggest thing we're always navigating is like what's best for the masses at this point. Like how can we
100%.
navigate things to like work out and really give more opportunity and engagement at that point too.
Like I said, it's always going to come down to what's best for the students, for the individuals that want to learn this. And you have to continue to get better. You have to progress. You have to continue to evolve as a program. If you continue to do the same thing over and over again, well, you're going to be left behind. So you have to evolve. And that's what we're doing here at the Joe Kubert School. And that's why we're doing incredible work here. And our students are learning from the absolute best people.
And if you want a printed book, just wait for panels to come out in 2026. And we're going to start our line of the series of panels books that are all how-to with comic book guides. But love it so much anyways. But with that being said, it's time to wrap up the show at this point.
Oh, come on. We still have so much more to cover.
Honestly, we could dive into every aspect of drawing on our next.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
But dude, this has been awesome. The Kubert School is always, like I said, it's been the X-Men mansion of comic book education. And I think all of us have admired it from reading comics as we grew up to just finding out that there was like a possibility you could do that and like even make comics as a career. So many of my friends have attended this Kubert School from Jay Louder and Tanner Ogle, and then our friend John Rayner, who's actually works at my comic book shop, Four Color Fantasies. John's amazing. So with that, anything else you want to shout out, give some props to, let fans know at the end of our show?
Sure. I mean, first off, props out to all of our students, staff, and faculty here at the Joe Kubert School. They're the absolute best, and I'm so proud of each and every single one of them and all the incredible work that they do. Thank you for having me on the show tonight and discussing this. I hope I can come on back and we can delve into even more details about everything because that's always fun to talk about. But, look, be sure to visit kubertschool.edu. Come on out to our open house in April. Be sure to look into our online studies courses that are kicking off in February and learn about everything else that we have to offer. And keep drawing, which is most importantly, okay?
I love that. I don't even have a better sign off from that. Just keep drawing. And in fact, if you want to keep drawing, tune in Thursday night for Spilled Ink, our live drawing show, 6:30 to 8:30 EST. We have a pack cast this week. I'm so excited. We're actually doing variant covers. I'm doing a cover for a sketch cover for Four Color Fantasies, a sketch not contest. It's a whole entire, I can't even think of the word right now, where they raffle off sketch covers and they donate to the literary agency here in Winchester. So I'm super hyped to be part of that. But other than that, thank you so much, Anthony. It's been a great night.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate it.
And all you, thank you for hanging.
Your comic books to life and print your comics with Comix Wellspring.